I started doing things that I thought were going to help with the weight, but these were just tactics. What I really needed to work on was my relationship with myself. That I tried diet pills. All I did was make me break out in terrible cystic acne.
You have more power over your health than what you've been told. This is the Healthy Lifestyle Solutions podcast, and I'm your host, Maya Acosta. I'm passionate about finding healthy lifestyle solutions to support optimal human health. If you're willing to go with me, together we can discover how simple lifestyle choices can help improve our quality of life and increase longevity in a big way. Let's get started. How can we ditch our unhealthy diet mentality to achieve healthy and sustainable weight loss on a plant-based diet? Health and lifestyle coach Kerryn Sawyer is here to share her personal story of overcoming disordered eating. She will also share her signature 6-month Plant Power Transformation program. You can learn more about Kerryn and see her full bio and links by visiting our website, healthylifestylesolutions.org. And I hope that you find this episode valuable.
Hi, Maya. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited that you're here and that you will be speaking to us about moving away from that mentality of dieting, that is, even though you do support people in weight loss. I want our listeners to know that you're in Australia. And we had the opportunity to talk a little bit ahead of time. And I like how you said that very early on, you sort of were not comfortable eating animals. So if you want to start with that.
Yeah, I like to say that our struggles in life are always leading us somewhere. And the reason I say this is because as I look back over my life, I realize how a lot of the things that I really struggled with a lot in life, and I guess my behavior and the things that I liked and didn't like as a child have sort of converged to, I guess, being here and doing what I'm doing today. So for anybody out there in life who might be struggling, how can you take a learning from what you are struggling with, and maybe it's leading you to also be able to help somebody later in life. But yeah, I think back to one of my very earliest memories as a child, and I was, I think, about 3 or 4 years old. I grew up in New Zealand, by the way, so I live in Australia now, but I was living in New Zealand, in Hamilton. And I was sitting on the front lawn outside of our house, and I was chewing something meat. I think it was a piece of steak. And I just remember it being disgusting. I was chewing and I was chewing and I was chewing, and then I spat it out. And I really didn't like it. I didn't like the taste of it. The texture was awful. I just didn't want to swallow it. And as I grew up, I learned that this was meat. And then later in life, I obviously learned that that was an animal. And very early on, I developed quite a close connection with animals. I had cats as pets, and I was very close to one of them. And we lived in an area that was sort of being newly developed as they were developing into what was farmland. So we had horses, there might have been cows, sheep in sort of neighboring paddocks. And so I would often be out there and talking to the animals and looking at them in the eyes and connecting with them and realizing that they had personalities and they were beings just like my little cat that I loved. And as I grew up, I and started to realize that this food that was on our plate that I didn't even really like, it was animals. There were bones, there was sinew, there was fat, and all of it was disgusting to me. And I really didn't like it at all. And I didn't really have a choice about what I ate as a child, but I didn't have a choice about what I was served as a child, but I did have a choice as to whether I wanted to eat it or not. And what I did a lot of the time, particularly with things like steak and chops and more sinewy bits of chicken, I would just cut them up and push them to the side of the plate, and then Dad, who sat next to me at the table, would eat them. And he would laugh at me and tell me I was leaving the best bits behind, and I said, I don't care, you can have it, I'll have my vegetables instead. So that connection to what I was eating really did start early on. And in my teenage years, I started, I really learned about vegetarianism. I realized that you didn't have to eat this stuff, that we could be healthy without it, and more, I guess, influence from food influences from other countries started to appear into New Zealand, and I think that was probably around the late 80s. And things like Asian cuisine, like Mexican, Italian, they started to come into New Zealand life, and in Hamilton. That's when I started to, I guess, discover other ways of eating, other ways of cooking food, as opposed to just meat and 3 veg. And as a teenager, I started cooking as well. I always used to hang around the kitchen with Mum when she was cooking meals. And I was fascinated. I just wanted to learn how to do it. And as a teenager and wanting to explore more vegetarian, I started cooking more vegetarian for the family, much to my dad's dismay. He would come home from work and say, "Where's the meat?" So that's where I was really starting to explore. And then I finished my arts degree when I was 20 and moved out of home, moved city in with my fiance at the time. Yes, I got married young. I got married at 21. And when we moved in together, we became vegetarian. So that was when I took the full step into vegetarianism. And then later in my 20s, my 20s, I guess, we both went vegan for probably about 5 years at the time. So that was kind of where it all started. And I haven't eaten anything like red meat, at least, since then. A little later in life, went back to eating fish. But then, of course, I'm now back to fully plant-based. But that's really where it started. That taste. I really didn't enjoy the taste as a child of eating meat, and then learning, that this was an animal and that I had the choice to say no, and then finding veganism afterwards and really getting involved for about 5 years in animal rights, animal activism, and going full on vegan in my 20s at some point.
So, question about your partner at the time when he came into this way of living through as a vegetarian. Was it also for that sort of kind of like ethical reasons, or was it because it was trendy? Because there was a time when just being a vegetarian was a thing.
No, I don't think it was. Definitely wasn't for trend. We were bucking the trend from everybody else that we knew. None of our family, I don't recall any of our friends. So we, made a new set of friends. So it really was about the ethics. We used to talk about it a lot. That was, one of the big reasons that we connected. And particularly when we went vegan, we saw, I guess the atrocities within the dairy and the egg industries, and just, we decided, if we're not making a decision to not support the meat industry, then we're going to make a decision to not support the full animal agriculture.
So at what point did you decide that being a health coach was like the right thing for you to do, especially in the field of plant-based nutrition?
Okay. Well, as I say, I feel like where I am now is the result of converging stories in my life and converging struggles or converging paths. And I'll take you back to, again, probably around the age of 3 or 4 again. And this is where my body dysmorphia and self-worth issues started to develop. And yes, they do kick in at a very early age. This is where we, that age of about, I think it's before about the age of 7, a lot of our limiting beliefs are when we are developed within us. Again, in Hamilton, our neighbours over the back fence were very involved in gymnastics, and their 2 kids who were around my age were both going off to gymnastics class. So I went with them one day, and there I am. I'm standing in amongst all of these strange kids that I have never seen before. And as I look around at everybody, I realized that, I said to myself, I have fat legs. Standing there in my little leotard, and I've got my dad's stocky legs. Dad has stocky legs, and I have inherited him from the waist down. That as a little 3 or 4 year old child, standing there looking at everybody else's skinny legs. And I even said to myself, even the fat kids in inverted commas have skinny legs. Now, these weren't fat kids. These were kids with little pukus who stood out, who stuck out, right? But puku's the Maori word for tummy. So little tummies that stuck out. So, and even they had skinny legs. But in my mind, that meant that I was, I had legs, even though I didn't. And that was something that really started to play on my mind as a child. And as a child, I developed this really negative opinion of myself. And the whole sort of negative self-chatter really started in my early life. I had red hair, so I looked different to everybody else. Pale skin and freckles, and I had a few moles on my legs. And I wanted all of that to change. I wanted, like everybody else, I wanted skinny legs. I didn't want to have freckles. I wanted to have normal skin. My brother was blonde, blue-eyed, and tanned. No freckles. And I cursed him because I wanted his coloring. And I also had pretty terrible teeth. My dad, my dad has challenging teeth, let's just say, and but he never had braces as a child. And I had, the eye teeth up here, and I had a gap in the middle of my teeth, and it was off to one side, and crowded mouth. And so I had all these things about my physical appearance that I just did not like. I did not look like the pretty little girls at school who had all the friends who the boys liked, and I was just this different child. And it really affected my image of myself growing up, and I wanted to change everything. In fact, when I was told at age 11 that I'd have to have braces, I couldn't stop smiling. I never smiled with my mouth open in photos before that, but as soon as I was told I had to have braces, I couldn't stop smiling. It's, yay, these are going to be fixed. So growing up with this sort of pretty poor self-image and wanting to change everything about myself and believing that my legs were fat, even though they weren't, that sort of extended through my life. And then I guess when I met my ex-husband, I was 16, he was 20. He didn't grow up with me, so he didn't see that version of me. He saw a young, a teenage girl who was coming into her looks, and he saw me in a completely different light. And so the attention that I received from him made me feel good about myself. And that was one of the reasons why I liked him. Even though there were red flags early on in the relationship that I ignored, I was relying on him and how he saw me for my self-worth. So fast forward to when we're living in Auckland, and my life has changed. I used to be very active. And also while I was going through university, I had a retail part-time job. And so that meant standing for a long time, for work. Plus I was at the gym a lot. I was playing badminton. So I was very active. Even though I thought I had fat legs, I didn't. I was very athletic. Fast forward to when I'm living in Auckland, I'm now in retail, but in a seated job in the buying office. So I'm sitting for 8 hours a day. I gave up badminton and I wasn't going to the gym as much. And so my weight started to change. This is when I really did start to gain weight. And even though we went vegan, when I first went vegan, I a bunch of weight to start with, and I thought, oh, this is amazing, this is so great, it must be all that dairy and the eggs and things that I was eating. But I found ways to put it back on, didn't I? But I learned how to make apple pie and cheesecake and all of the, I guess, goodies that initially were dropped from our diet, and that weight for me just started to creep back on again. And then the self-worth issues started to creep back in. I was worried about not pleasing my husband because of the weight that was now creeping on. Remember the self-worth issues that had been developing during my childhood, and they started converging now that I was actually putting on weight. And because I was relying on my ex-husband for to feel good about myself, I was sort of giving away my power, and even he started to notice the weight, and he started commenting on it, and I started doing things that I thought were going to help with the weight, but these were just tactics. What I really needed to work on was my relationship with myself. That I tried diet pills. All I did was make me break out in terrible cystic acne. Um, we were very much involved in the bodybuilding scene for a while, or the marathon running scene for a while, because my ex was a sporty person. He was either playing squash or badminton or marathon running or bodybuilding. So we were very much involved in that scene. I wasn't. I felt like I wasn't a sporty person and I couldn't do it. That's what I told myself. So he was around all these very sporty people. You know, I was at the gym. I was trying to train really hard. I found this guy called Bill Phillips that had this book that was about his 12-week challenge. And I read it. I absorbed everything. And the amount of times I tried to put myself through his 12-week challenge on my own and fell off track at about week 3 or 4 because I failed. I might have stuffed up. I might have had an off meal, an off day. You know, my training wasn't perfect. And because of that, I was really struggling to remove the weight. I tried running and then I was so bad at it. My weight had affected me so much that I felt so heavy and I struggled to even run around the block. I was trying to push myself too hard too soon because I was trying to achieve an outcome so that I could feel good about myself. And that whole spiral, it was sort of like a, heavily restrictive cycle of eating and then manic exercise, which would fall off track at about week 3 or 4 because I couldn't keep it up. And then I would probably spiral into a little bit of a binge and then beat myself up because I'd failed. And then I'd wait till I felt so bad enough about myself that I had to try again. And it was that negative spiral that I was in that was really, affecting my self-worth even more. And it was then starting to affect my relationship with my husband as well. Not only was I'm feeling bad about myself and relying on him to make me feel better, well, he's looking at me beating myself up and he's doing exactly the same thing. He's not feeling great about me because I'm not feeling great about me, which about 10 years into the marriage started to really break down significantly. We tried to hold together and move to Australia for try to get away and have a bit of an adventure. And while we were over here, we ended up buying into a fitness franchise because by this stage he decided he wanted to be a personal trainer. And I'd just been made redundant from my job over here. So I joined him in this business to really get it up and running. And it was stepping into that identity of a trainer and shifting how I saw myself that really helped me gain strength, not just physical strength, but inner personal strength. I still wasn't there yet, but it was kind of the start of my journey. And I also found the inner strength during that journey to end the marriage myself. I left. I decided that there was behavior that was not healthy. I found my inner self, my inner voice, and realized I do not need to rely on somebody else to make me feel good. I am responsible for that. And it was really after leaving that marriage that the world changed for me. And I just made different decisions for myself. I decided who I wanted to be. No more hiding in this person who was ashamed of themselves, told themselves they couldn't do stuff. I was the shyest kid I ever knew growing up. I decided I wanted to be more confident. I wanted to be more popular. So I just made that decision. And by changing my mindset, by changing who I wanted to be, it actually started to change my world. A few years later, I started seeing somebody who introduced me to the world of self-development and Tony Robbins. And I saw what Tony Robbins could do to people. And I just went, wow, that is power. I want that power. And I started I started realizing that I wanted more for my life than just to worry about me. I actually wanted to help other people. I reflected on my journey through life and the struggles that I'd had with my weight and my self-worth and coming out of a marriage. And in some way, I wanted to help other people. I thought I wanted to be a life coach. In fact, I did study Tony's Core 100 life coaching program. I left my retail buying job. I was a lingerie buyer for almost 10 years, our biggest department store over here in Australia. And I left that with the intent of becoming a life coach. I didn't know who I was going to coach. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I was just going to figure it out along the way. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how you say this, but one of my suppliers at the time basically nabbed me and said that they had a job going and they wanted me to apply for it. So I did that, and that sort of delayed my journey by another 2.5 years. During that time, I was taking my diet back from vegetarian back to being vegan. I as soon as I got the job, I was diagnosed with skin cancer, and it was thankfully just a stage 1. We caught it very early, and had 2 operations to remove it. But that was like my big aha, kick up the butt to get myself back to being vegan. I knew that dairy was implicated in cancers. I knew that animal protein was cancer. And I had been wanting to go back to being vegan for some time now. I've been thinking about it. I was resistant for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. But this was sort of my wake up and my motivation to make that change. Then I found the experts in that space, T. Colin Campbell, Colville Esselstyn. I found Michael Greger. I found a lot of the experts, and I started looking more into this whole food, plant-based nutrition thing. I found T. Colin Campbell's eCornell plant-based nutrition certification, and I knew I wanted to do it, but I kept pushing it away. I think I pushed it away for about 18 months and just said, I'm not ready. And then it was shortly after the Game Changers documentary came out, and another friend of mine, she met through a Tony Robbins event, she said to me that she and her husband had seen the doco and they wanted to transition to plant-based eating, and she was asking me all sorts of questions and wanting my help. And she said to me, and hi, Nicole, if you're listening, I always blame her for being who I am today. She said to me, you should coach on this. This is what you should do with your coaching. And I said, boom, that's it. I got off the call with her. I enrolled in the eCornell course. That started the following Tuesday. I think our conversation was on a Sunday. That course started on the Tuesday following. The following Friday, I resigned from my job. And that was at the end of 2019. And I said, I'm going to do this. I set up my business name, The Plant Power Coach. And I signed up with a business coach who was going to help me take the right steps to get my coaching business in the right direction. And in January of 2020, I started The Plant Power Coach. And I decided I don't know what I don't, and I'm going to figure it out. And I started off by coaching pro bono. There were about 10 people, I think, coaching pro bono. And my whole idea is I wanted to help people transition to a vegan diet. And I learned a lot during that process of coaching people pro bono. That as people don't actually pay for the service, they often don't show up. They might come to one coaching session. They got me for 3 months for help, and they might have turned up to one session, and that was it. But I also learned what people were really stuck with as well. And but I also realized during that period that didn't really know anything about how to help people shift their habits, how to help people with their mindset. I didn't have that more health coaching skill. So I decided to enroll in a proper health coaching course. It's like, that is exactly what I need. So I did that for 6 months and then launched the business properly at the end of that coaching. So I think I graduated at the end of September, and then October, it was October 2020. That was kind of like the official relaunch of the business. And in terms of weight loss, weight loss kind of found me. I was resisting coaching on weight loss for so long because somehow I held this limiting belief in my head because I felt so good, in my body, in my health. Now, I sort of didn't really remember a lot of my struggles from the past. It was like there's a big block, like it was another life, another person. And so I was resisting coaching weight loss. But what I found is when I relaunched the business, most of the people who came to me were coming to me for weight loss. They may be wanting to transition to plant-based because they wanted to lose weight, or they were vegan people all who wanted to tidy up their diet and become more whole food plant-based so that they could their weight loss outcomes. So weight loss kind of found me. And as I was coaching people on their struggles, a lot of it reminded me of the struggles that I had gone through in my past. And then I realized I do have a weight loss or a weight struggle story. I have a self-image struggle story. I have a self-worth struggle story. And a lot of this ties into people's weight loss journeys. It's not simply what they're eating. It's how they see themselves. It's what's going on between the head, between the ears. And a lot of that was what was affecting me too. I love saying 80% of your weight loss goals will be achieved by what you put in your mouth, but 100% of what you put in your mouth comes from what you put in your head. So we need to work on both what we're putting in our mouth and what we're putting in our heads in order to achieve long-lasting results. So that's why I now like combining not only my, love of plants and my love of plant-based living and plant-based health, and also combine the life coaching skills and the life lessons that I have learned along the way to really help people shift who they're being in their life in order to achieve their weight loss goals permanently, not just while they're working with me for 6 months.
You've been on this journey yourself, so you know what it's like when you're working with other people. Not only the limiting beliefs, but just sort of the real struggle of it all. So I can see that support system that you create is significant for your clients.
I mean, you don't have to necessarily have had your own struggle to be able to help somebody. But if you've been through that struggle yourself, you really know what other people do struggle with. And you're not literally just trying to tell somebody what to do. In my 20s, I listened to everybody trying to tell me what to do. And the reason I wasn't doing it is because I didn't believe that I could achieve what I wanted to achieve. Deep down, I didn't have great self-worth. I wasn't speaking to myself kindly. If I made a mistake, I would beat myself up terribly. So somebody who hasn't had that struggle in their life probably doesn't have the same level of understanding of what that can be like. And to really help someone work on that part of themselves so that they don't continue to sabotage their journey, so that they do stay on track. It's not just about providing information. There is so much information out there. There is so much information that it's almost overwhelming to people too. People actually want to be led. They want to be handheld. They want to be guided. And when they've got struggles, they feel like they're alone. I felt like I was alone. I'm probably not. I know I'm not alone in the struggles that I had because I see everybody else struggling with it. But we always feel like it's our own struggle, and we feel like nobody else understands and nobody else can really help us with it. So having somebody to turn to, having somebody who understands the struggle, having somebody to be able to help you move past that struggle, to help you see that you are not failing and that you're just learning and that this is all just part of your growth, is really, really important for staying on track, to not falling off track. So yeah, I think it can be, having your own struggles as a health coach can be really, really powerful in helping somebody achieve their goals.
Kerryn, you would be surprised how many women tell me that they had eating disorders of some sort. And I'm thinking, gosh, yeah, it felt like I was the only one when I was younger, when I was in high school, college. And yet we are living in a time when there is more, so many other body figures and showing on social media and on TV. I thought I had it tough growing up. I cannot even imagine young women looking at these female figures on television, on social media. I feel like that can contribute a lot to self-image and body dysmorphia. I don't know what you think about that.
I don't know if you've heard of Tony Robbins' 6 human needs that he talks about. Um, so there's 4 that we're always trying to meet every day, and then there's 2 that are more about needs of the soul. So there's the needs of the person and there's the needs of the soul. So the 4, you've got the need for certainty and uncertainty. The first 2, certainty is about safety, and uncertainty is about variety. So we need those. But the other 2 are about significance, feeling important, and the other one is about connection and love. So I feel like in this age of social media, we have, a lot of people out there showing themselves in a way in order to feel significant about themselves, to get that attention, to feel like they're worthy in some way, and also to seek that love and support and connection with people. We are always trying to meet those 4 needs in some way, but there are positive ways to meet them and there are not so positive ways to meet them. For example, significance could also be, say, somebody coming into a bank with a gun and robbing the place. He feels strong, he feels significant. It's like, listen to me, I'm in charge here. So that's like a negative way to meet that need for significance. But this world of social media, you can see it playing out. There's a lot of people, particularly I think the younger generation, who are more about trying to find who they are. And I guess this is the part of the season of life. When we are younger, we are trying to find who we are. We are trying to find where we fit into this world. We are trying to make ourselves worthy and seen and heard and feel significant in some way. But we're not often doing it in the best possible ways. When we get to later in life, this is when we start to realize, that stuff doesn't really, we can still meet our needs for, significance and love and connection. But we also start to say, is that it? Is just looking good? Is that all I'm about? Is working this 9-to-5 job and making money and having the house and the car and the kids and the dog, is that all life is about? And we start to look internally and say, how can I help others? We start to want to meet our needs of the soul. And this is where we start to want personal growth. So growth is one of the 6 human needs of the soul. And the other one is contribution. How can I help others? While it is difficult for a lot of young girls growing up in this age, we've always been doing it. We've just got a different platform to seek that significance and that love and connection with people. It's just, we've got this global platform or global platforms now that we're doing it, and it can bring out the best in people and it can bring out the worst. It doesn't always need to stay that way, though. And that is where, things like coaching can come, and it can help people grow and help people realize that there is more to life than just themselves. And somehow, this is why I say, your struggles are there in life to potentially help somebody else out. We stop going internal and focusing on us so much. We can go internal to grow, but if we then recognize that those struggles might be for a reason, that they might be there to then help somebody else out of a struggle, we can help people get out of their own heads and continue to grow and evolve as a human species.
Can you tell us about your programs? When are you running your programs? And then what else is coming up for you?
My main coaching program is my 6-month plant power transformation. So this is my weight loss coaching program. It's actually evergreen, so people can join at any point in time, providing that I have the space. It is one-on-one high service coaching with people directly. So it's 6 months working with me. We work through the tactics of weight loss. So this is, what you put in your mouth. This is the food that is going to contribute or produce the weight loss within you. It's like, what does healthy, whole food, plant-based eating actually look like, and why does this work for weight loss? And then we look at all sorts of other healthy habits that contribute to weight loss as well. So it's how you're moving your body, it's your water, it's your sleep, it's what else? Eating for hunger, and hunger alone, not for boredom, not for numbing emotions. This is what I find with a lot of people. A lot of people are eating for reasons that are not hunger related. So let's ditch all of the unnecessary eating, the eating for other reasons in your life. And then there is stopping at satisfied. So again, a lot of people are overeating. We have, particularly our generation, grown up with the message from our parents, clean your plate. There are starving children in Africa. A lot of my parents' generation grew up post-World War II, when there probably was a bit of food scarcity. So, for them, it was about piling the plate high and eating the whole lot. So it's unveiling a lot of those food messages and those food patterns that people have, and having them come back to nourish their body with the right foods, but also for the right reasons, for hunger and to stop at enough. And then we move into learning more about our habits, learning more about our patterns, learn about self-sabotage. Everybody, we're human, like we all self-sabotage in some way, but learning about why and how it comes up for us in our life is really, really important to be able to spot it and move past it and realize that it doesn't have to drag you off track. We work a lot around mindset. And our thoughts that we have, every day, the things that we say to ourselves every day. We work a lot around emotions, because our thoughts create our emotions. Nothing else creates our emotions. Nothing else can determine how we feel but what we think. And then, of course, our emotions drive our actions. And our actions lead to our results. So we work through that with people, helping them. A lot of people are eating for their emotions, as I said, trying to numb emotions. So we work through some tools and some ways to just be okay with emotions, as well as serving the real needs. So, if you're eating for boredom, for example, well, is there something missing in your life? Do you need a little bit of excitement? Food doesn't need to be that excitement. Are you eating to numb stress or some pain in your life? What do you actually need to shift that pain? And can you just sit with that pain? Can be okay with that pain? So we work through a lot of those sorts of things that are the real reasons that people struggle to lose the weight. Not just shifting the diet, not just focusing on what they do, but focusing on the person and helping them become a bit better version of themselves, really, helping them build that confidence that they can achieve anything that they want to in life, because really it starts with how we think and how we feel about ourselves. Improving the relationship with ourselves, improves the relationship with our food. So it really is a comprehensive journey for a lot of people, and so that's my main weight loss coaching at the moment, which is initially 6 months. And this year, I am also going to be developing a full transition program as well. So, like I say, when I started this journey, my whole goal was to change the world. I wanted to, save the planet, save the animals, and save all the humans on it by helping as many people as possible transition to plant-based eating and make it a success. I wanted to help them do it with ease and with confidence. And really, I transitioned away to weight loss because that's what everyone was coming to me for. But there are still people out there who want to transition to plant-based eating who do not need help with weight loss. They just want help shifting their eating patterns. And, as I, in Facebook groups like Forks Over Knives and a lot of the other plant-based and vegan groups, and I see so many comments, I see so many people still struggling with that transition. So I'm coming back to my roots and putting together a full transition program that is designed to help people with not just the what, not just the how, but also with shifting their mindset around food, shifting their mindset around what it is they're doing, helping them feel confident in social situations around friends who may be questioning what they're doing, helping them feel confident in their family situation if they're the only person in the family. I see a lot of women particularly comment about, my partner doesn't want to come on this journey with me. My kids don't want to come on this journey with me. Help, what do? I don't want to be cooking 2 meals every night. So helping them think about that journey differently and helping them in a way that can help bring the family on board subtly in a way that doesn't feel like, this is how I'm eating, therefore you should too. But, help people come on the journey around them as well so that they can be a good influence rather than sort of, which is what, vegans tend to be accused of doing, and that's pushing their agenda on other people. So that's where I'm planning that one for a little later in this year. Don't ask me about timing because I haven't put it in the calendar just yet. But that will probably start to happen. I'll probably start to develop that in the next month or so.
I feel like that is very needed, the whole transitioning. While there are many resources out there, the thing is that people really do need the support, and teaching someone how to make that transition and knowing how to respond to their immediate surroundings when they're not being supported is so important, because for us it's not a diet, it's a way of life.
It's definitely a way of life, yes. And while the weight loss is, it's a very nice benefit. I mean, when I transitioned from vegan to more whole food plant-based, the impacts to my body I felt like I was carrying a bit of a spare tire around my middle. I call it the COVID spare tire. I think that a lot of people developed, but that just sort of melted away and it hasn't come back. So yes, the benefits that you see to your health as you transition to plant-based eating are definitely there. But yeah, that diet culture, needing to go on a diet to lose the weight is very prevalent out there. And I do see a lot of people saying that they want to try plant-based eating this time to lose weight because they've just come from keto and their cholesterol skyrocketed. So it's about helping people adopt this way of life as a way of life, and help them shift their habits, shift their mindset around food, shift how they're showing up every day, and help them make it easy as opposed to a struggle. Help them take baby steps. When we take baby steps, it's much easier.
Like now, having gone through it myself, now I feel like I'm better at supporting a loved one, a family member, but definitely not on my first year. I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Yeah. And I think even as I thought I was whole food plant-based, I realized, oh, hang on, I'm still cooking with oils. Oh, hang on, I've still got some processed meats in here. These have got to go. What am I doing? I'm wanting to be a health coach and help people eat healthy plant-based, not this stuff that I'm eating. So yeah, it took me a while to actually click as well. And you're right. We always think that we need to be 100%. There's this underlying belief that unless we are 100%, we will fail. And we don't want to fail, right? Because if we fail, we see that we are a failure. And what we're really scared of is how we will treat ourselves and how we think other people might treat us if we fail. So I help people really understand that failure or failing is just part of learning and growing. If we can be comfortable with putting ourselves in a situation where we're going to fail, we can be comfortable facing failure, then we will be comfortable doing anything. We'll be comfortable to put ourselves out there and risk failure because it may lead us to success. And so I help people understand that failing, making a mistake, in fact, I'm about to put a post up about this today, making a mistake does not mean you are a failure. Making a mistake is an opportunity to learn. And it's an opportunity to grow, and it's an opportunity to say, okay, what didn't go well? What am I going to change? How am I going to do it better? How am I going to just keep taking that step forwards? It does not mean that you will not be successful. It does not mean that you are a failure. Allow yourself to fail along the journey. It's part of life. We are human. We're meant to fail.
The judgment is what gets us to quit.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we want to escape our own personal beat up, which is what eventually leads to us quitting. And we only truly fail if we quit. So let's avoid beating ourselves up if we make a mistake. Just make the next best decision and keep going, right? If you mess up a meal, don't worry about it. Just make the next one better. Just keep going, keep trying. And you don't need to go through the whole personal beat up. I'm a failure. What will people think of me? What do I think of myself? Because that is what leads to failure, what leads to people getting stuck and not being able to continue to move forward.
As we sort of start to wrap things up, I was wondering, what is the best way for people to contact you if they're interested in your programs? And do you have a final message for our listeners?
Okay, so the best way to contact me, there's a few ways. I am on Facebook and Instagram, or you can friend request me on Facebook, Kerryn Sawyer. I'm just there. You can come and see all my content there. I also have a public Facebook group. If people want some help and support, that Facebook group has a whole heap of free support for people. I have lots of helpful posts, resources. I'm even doing a little bit of a live cooking demo into that group. I'm getting that back up and running this week. I've got a few there that I started last week, but just my own little makeshift cooking show. It's not perfect, but I don't care. We've got to get out of this need to be perfect. But yeah, I just help people realize that plant-based eating doesn't have to be hard. It can be quite simple. You can do it with one pan on the stove. My kitchen's tiny. So the name of the Facebook group is Plant-Based Health and Weight Loss Support. And the and is the little symbol and. So plant-based health and weight loss support. I mainly hang out in Facebook because I like the community aspect. I like being able to talk to people. I find Instagram's just a little bit sort of push, show. I don't find I can interact with people quite so much, but I'm on Instagram as well. And a final word to people. I guess my big thing is just be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself on whatever journey you're on. If you are trying to step into plant-based eating, just be kind to yourself on the journey. Allow yourself to make some mistakes. Allow yourself to go as slow as you need to go. Keep your eye on the prize and what you are aiming to achieve, but allow yourself to take it slowly. If you are wanting to lose weight, allow the process to be slow. Too many times we want fast results because we're trying to get to our goal weight, our goal body, so we can feel good about ourselves. The thing is, we want to enjoy the process along the way. We want to enjoy the process of weight loss so that it doesn't feel like a process. It doesn't feel like we're restricting ourselves, like we're denying ourselves. If you can enjoy the process, you are going to stick to it. So be kind to yourself on the journey. Allow it to take as long as it's going to take. That was one of the things that I beat myself up about for so long. I wanted to be there now so I could feel better about myself. And I would do all sorts of restrictive stuff to try and get there quickly. It doesn't work, right? Just allow it to take as long as it's going to take and just keep making the next best decision if you make a mistake. Making a mistake does not mean you are a failure, right? It just means you're human, right? Celebrate being a human. It's okay.
That's a beautiful message. I really like that. It's like trust the process and just allow it to be. I really like that. Thank you, Kerryn, so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Maya. It was a pleasure.
You've been listening to the Healthy Lifestyle Solutions podcast with your host, Maya Acosta. If you've enjoyed this podcast, do us a favor and share with one friend who can benefit from this episode. Feel free to leave us an honest review on Apple Podcasts. That helps us to spread our message. You can also head on over to podinbox.com/HLS to leave me a voicemail. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you for listening.